Let's throw a curveball, guys. UFOs. We don't talk about stuff like this normally. What we have a tendency of talking about is things that go bump in the night, or old graveyards, effectively places where we tend to be left to our own devices with a camera. Now, there's one thing I've always had an interest in. Same as Kurt. I think Kurt Lynette's actually part of MUFON. Am I right in believing?
Mm-hmm.
So even Kurt's wife's part of MUFON. So ufology, I love it. Oh God, ufology has always been something that I've always been interested in. There's been times where I live in a part of town where 3 miles out of our city it's dark. So there's always times you look up. If anybody follows me on Instagram or follows me on Facebook, you'll notice that I do post a hell of a lot of pictures of stars or night sky. I have a tendency of putting my camera up there, not for ufology, not for anything like that, just because I like that type of photograph. But there's also been times I've caught shooting stars. There was actually a time I went on a blind panic rant because I had the camera pointed up into the sky and I'm trying to catch shooting stars this one night. Do you know what, guys? I'll get the WhatsApp message that I sent to one of our team members, Stephen Foy, actually co-host on our shows on here sometimes. When I seen what I saw, the first thing I've done was blind panic messaged him. This mad, believe me, you'll struggle to understand what I said. I was that panicking about it, but I was looking up and I seen when you're out in the night, you get used to looking up. You get used to knowing what a bird is because you can see it's white or it's got a shadow. This thing went past. It was like a ball with another ball behind it. It had no lights whatsoever, and it was quite low. I thought it could be a quadcopter. I thought, what could it be? It could be remote control plane. No noise from it whatsoever. To this day, couldn't tell you what it was. But that was last year. Actually, it might have been beginning of this year. But that actually was one of the rare times that I've actually sat there and I ran in panicking to my wife. Panicking on the phone. I don't know if I messaged you as well, Kate, but I messaged Stephen Foy, and I couldn't. Listen to the clip. If I've got the clip, I'll play it now.
Dude, you're the first person I want to contact about this. I'm in our backyard, okay? I'm looking up because it's meant to be me to the shower. My camera clicking then. I've just seen what look like two birds flying next to each other, quite high up. Then they flew into one, then they're gone. Two little white things. I don't know what they were. I'm not gonna lie to you. That was fucking surreal. So now I've got my camera trained on the same place I've just seen them. All I can believe is that they were birds, but they just flew, like literally as if they just flew, and like as if one disappeared into the other. That was odd.
Half schizophrenic on the message. It was hilarious. So it's fair to say from my side, ufology's always been there. Now, Kate, where do you stand on it all? Let's start with that.
Ufology?
Oh yeah.
I'll be honest with you. I find it interesting, but I look at it from this aspect that a lot of it is what the military is putting out there, or maybe some company who's trying to get a military deal going with themselves, let's say Lockheed Martin or someone else, is test running things out there. You go to Area 51, you go to, as Bob Lazar was talking about, S4 and places like that. I mean, I don't know, man. It's like so weird. It's like, since I've never had that experience, it's hard for me to I'll be honest, it's just hard for me to say yes, they exist, but at the same time, if I'm looking at the sky and I'm looking into infinity out there, something has to exist. Whether it comes down to us, and I don't know, man. But I'm not a disbeliever at the same time. I think on side A, it could be military, or B, it could be test flight of something that soon will be in our near future. But once I see something that really will blow my mind, it'll be a game changer for me. It's like when you talk about the paranormal, which we really want on this show, if you see an apparition and it's like sitting right in front of you and then dissipates, that's going to blow my mind. You know, so it's just kind of like that. I mean, but no, I just hope they come up with something like real soon to really like put it out there and say, how can you debunk this? You
Yeah.
know, so,
No, I'll give you that. Now, you've got things like SETI, which is the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence. SETI is, okay, let me just backtrack a little bit. Stephen Hawking, guy's a legend. He's a fantastic mind. Sadly, he's a fantastic mind stuck in a very limited body. I think that guy, being left with his thoughts in the way that he is, he went to university. I think he went to Cambridge. The guy is an absolute mind. He trailblazed right the way through his field. He managed to sit there and put a spin on everything. And he was the first person to say, are you absolutely insane trying to contact something out there? If they look back at us, are they going to see us as a threat? And everybody was like, no, we'll be fine. We'll be fine. We'll all hug. No, we won't hug. And Stephen Hawking said one of the stupidest things. And I think, what was his name? The astronomer, Patrick. I forget his name. I'm pretty sure it's Patrick. I forget his name. Anyway, he was another one who came forward. If I remember his name, I'll ping it right there. If I don't, I'll Google it, and I'll also ping it right there. He came forward and said that the worst thing you could ever do is message. The worst thing you can ever do is send out a signal. You don't know what's out there. And you know what? He's right, 100%. You don't know what's out there. Statistically, something's out there. Something is looking back. It always will be. Now, if something's out there and it's not going to treat us right. If it sees us, it's just going to see us killing each other, fighting with each other, hating everything, sitting there and indulging on mobile phones and just pretty much wasting our own time. Absolutely. I don't know. We're not doing a very good job of taking care of the planet. So I'm pretty sure anything comes in, they're not going to like us. However, something came forward, which was something called the WOW message, which I'll play a little clip of it now. That's one of the reasons why I'd be a bit worried, because if you message out, if anybody ever seen that fantastic film Home with the alien and his friend Ip, I think her name is, or Tip, sorry, Tip. In that, there's a alien presence which is out to kill everybody. And what does he do? He messages in and says, we're having a party on Earth, follow us here. And it eventually comes back to have a go at them. There's nothing saying a situation like that will ever happen. It's not saying it won't, but to be fair, I think we needed to be cautious of it. Now, if something's out there and if it is friendly enough, then superb. If it's not friendly enough, then we're really poking the bear effectively. Now, we could always look towards films like Independence Day, where they came down and we are, oh no, please don't hurt us. We mean nothing but kind. I'm sorry, no, dispute that. We see anything, we're going to attack it. It's just the way we are as a society. However, 100 years ago, it wasn't that way. I know 100 years ago, there was actually a situation that happened. And it was in a place called Auroura. Now, what happened was between 1896 and 1897, there was, excuse me, there was a spate of sightings from, I think it was from Sacramento, not Sacramento. Actually, it'll make sense throughout the story. So there's an interesting situation that happened in Auroura. It started in 1896. They call it the Great Airship Mystery of 1896 and 1897. I say they, but to be fair, I've only ever heard this story 3 or 4 times in my entire research life of playing around with any Google or whatever. Whenever I go on my little wild tangents of looking at stuff, right? So the UFO. Oh, sorry, the Great Airship Mystery of 1896 and 1897. It started in California. And what happened was people started seeing, sighting cigar-shaped object floating across the sky, making no noise. And one sighting, it was doing 5 mile an hour. One sighting, it's doing 200 plus mile an hour. Back in a time when they believed that if you drove more than 40 mile an hour in a car, your head would explode. And that's why trains back in those days went 35 mile an hour, because they were petrified your head explode. No joke.
Wow.
Yeah, but the really funny part was when you dived off a bridge or you dived into water swimming, and you'd probably dive a little bit faster than 40 mile an hour if you did dive off something quite high, your head never exploded. It makes no sense. But welcome to the world of Victorian odd logic. Anyway, a small cigar-shaped object was spotted in the sky heading south, passing over Aurora, dropping lower and lower until it smashed into the windmill of Judge J.S. Proctor, exploding on impact. The debris rained down on his property, and along with the debris rained down a body. And shortly after this event, some of the locals visited the site, removing artifacts, or basically just pilfering some stuff from the crash, stating that it was not a metal that they've ever seen before, and it was like a mixture of aluminium and silver. I managed to get those words out right. Okay, now the grave apparently lays to the lower south side of the graveyard in Aurora, and under the shade of the tree, the grave is a small, nearly unmarked grave, roughly the size of a small adult or a child, and whatever was buried there had a Christian burial. So they actually treated quite religiously, considering they didn't know what it was. They still buried it in a Christian graveyard, which was ironically quite tasteful, considering they didn't know what it was or where it was from. So the grave, as I said, it's unmarked and it's roughly the size of a small adult and a child. But as I said, Christian burial. There are new things to this grave. Oh, sorry, there are a few things to this grave which seem far more interesting than the older reports suggest. Now, in the late 70s, the grave was visited by a researcher who used a metal detector, and he found 3 strong metal anomalies in the grave. But the thing is, with the three anomalies that he found in the grave, he metal detected the grave. He was asked, could he exhume? They said no. He asked, could he metal detect? They said reluctantly. They said yes. We're going to give you a short window of time. So he metal detected the grave. He scanned the grave, found the 3 hits. Strongest of the hits was up the top by the gravestone. Went back, tried to get permission to come back and dig. And when he came back, the gravestone had totally changed. There was a large circular slab over it, like a circular concrete slab, and there was no longer any hits of metal whatsoever in the grave. So whether you want to place this down to conspiracy or just odd luck that he was picking something up with the metal detector, it could be down to any form of conjecture. Now, as I was saying a little bit earlier, the story is not an isolated incident for the US at the time. Old microfilm showed news reports of such sightings and even contact, and the event, as I said before, was called the Great Airship Mystery of 1896 and 1897. So it all started in the autumn of 1896 when it was spotted in California, and then again it was spotted in November, Sacramento, and shortly after that, over the course of a few months, there was numerous sightings right the way through. And the final, to me, and most important part of the event is the crash site, and there's been loads of speculation about. Start again. The final, to me, and most important part of the event is the crash site, and there has been some speculation that the story was fabricated, and the apparent reasoning for this was due to the claims that Proctor's land had no windmill. So what they were saying was, in the news reports, that the ship had came down, and when it came down and hit the property, it hit a windmill and exploded on impact, but there was no windmill on Judge Proctor's property, which is true. There was no windmill. There was a water tower style pump. No, it was like a pump which was built on the same type of framework as a windmill. So the only difference is one had blades, one never. So contrary to what was stated earlier, it is true it had no windmill, but then again, that doesn't mean it was a fabricated story just due to that. So people went back. in the 1970s, the guy, I'm pretty sure it was Richard Dolan. Please don't, if I get it wrong, I do apologize. Have a go in the comments if you'd like. I think it was Richard Dolan came forward and he said that when he was there, he was looking into the legitimacies of there being a water tower there and a windmill there, and he was finding angle brackets all over the ground from when the tower was there. So whatever it was, clipped the tower, sent a bit of debris flying, and he found some of the debris. Now, this is the tantalizing part of the entire story, right? When the debris was cleared, it was cleared and thrown into a well, which belonged to the water tower. The water tower was there no more, so all the metalworks and all that got thrown into the bottom of the well. Everything did, including the debris of the crash. So some of the pieces of the crashed airship or whatever it was went down the bottom of that well. The well then was inevitably capped. They capped it off. Well, capped it off. They closed it off, and they stopped using it. And in 1945, a gentleman called Mr. Brawley Oates, sorry, he purchased the property. And when he purchased the property, he decided to clean out the debris out of the well and wanted to start using the well again. But nobody's really sure what he'd done with the debris that he found in the well. He later developed a very heavy case of arthritis, which he claimed was due to the contaminants in the well water. I'll bring a picture up of the state of his hands now. Right, in 2008, the well was uncapped. Now, he did manage to clean all the stuff out of the well. The well was uncapped apparently by a UFO show, like UFO Hunters, I think it was, in 2008. They uncapped the well and had a little look down there, and they couldn't find anything. Definitive. But then again, it's been 100 years. The well's been cleaned out. Everything that had happened is well done and dusted and gone. I just find it really frustrating that of the entire situation and everything that happened in the entire situation, the only evidence is covered by a slab of concrete. The only proven evidence is covered by a slab of concrete.
I think what they should do is, if they can get permission without dragging it up, just use ground penetrating radar and just see what kind of hits they can get. You know, I mean, it could be really nothing there, or it could be really something.
Definitely. But, I mean, I do believe that technology is going to be the way forward, though.
Mm-hmm. They need to. I think they need to give it a look, give it a shot. You know,
the train tracks never reached Auroura. So what happened was, because the train tracks never actually got to Auroura, the place never bustled the way a town should. So it really it had nothing but bad luck. But because of that, everything that was there got turned pretty much into wasteland or big massive lots. So Proctor's land right now is the other side of what I could only describe as being desolate land. Now, the thing with it, right, okay, so what you need to take into consideration is the guy who bought the property, to build on it, his hands got bad arthritis. The property itself, grass doesn't grow on it. His part of the property, grass. Yeah, grass isn't growing. Something's wrong. Something's stopping the grass growing. And what they were putting it down to was contaminants in the well. So what type of contaminants would you expect it to be in a well where debris and metal's been thrown down other than rust? I don't think rust could actually do that much damage, because this is actually like a massive area of property which has no vegetation whatsoever. Bit of a strange one for me.
That's a strange one, that it would cause that like disability of sorts. You know, I mean, if you think about it. But at the same time, look at our periodic table, and you wonder like which stuff could cause that. You know, maybe it's in the soil, maybe it's elsewhere. It's leaking through, depending on the well depth. And not that I'm I know a whole lot about wells. I only drink city water, hate well water. I will admit. Yeah.
Oh God! Please cue the Home Alone 2 section right now, where you've got Harry and Marv standing there looking down. Going,
wow, what a hole!
That's about as much as I know about it. It's just a hole with water underneath it. There's wells everywhere. It's a well. Anyway, I'm going to digress less and move over to the next one. So the next one we were talking about, we actually talked about it before the show. Now, I wanted to avoid cliches with regards to this, so I didn't want to sit there and talk about Roswell. I didn't want to sit here and talk about Area 51 or Dulce or anything like that. But Rendlesham Forest. Rendlesham Forest for me, it's one of those places that, regardless to wherever you look with ufology, you'll end up in a few places. Giorgio Tsoukalos with Ancient Aliens. Roswell, Area 51, Rendlesham Forest. For me, definitely, anyway. So Rendlesham Forest, I'll give you a quick synopsis on this one for you guys. So Rendlesham Forest incident is the most intriguing and best documented UFO case in the world, and is second only to Roswell in terms of name recognition. Now, Nick Pope, guys, as far as I remember, Nick Pope is ex-Ministry of Defence. Pretty sure he took care of the UK's version of X-Files, which is basically looking into all of our reports of ufology or all our unexplained sighting reports. So he conducted a cold case review on the incident for the British government, and he presented the following summary of the case to a cross-party group of former US congressional representatives in 2013. And this briefing is widely used by journalists and film TV TV executives looking for a concise and neutral point of view. Looking for a concise, neutral point of view introduction to what actually happened. With it being the UK's best known and most compelling UFO incident, it's a series of sightings that occurred in December 1980 and collectively known as either the Rendlesham Forest incident or the Bentwaters incident. Sorry, Scouse accent, horrible to talk. So the sightings took place near the twin military bases of Bentwaters and Woodbridge. These bases are in the UK and they're operated by the US Air Force as part of a wider US military presence in Europe. And there were several dozen military witnesses. The most senior was a deputy base commander, Lieutenant Colonel Charles Holt. And in the early hours of December 26, 1980, two members of the US Air Force, being John Burroughs and Jim Penniston, who had been sent to investigate suspected crashed civilian aircraft and encountered unknown craft, which had apparently landed in a small clearing in Rendlesham Forest, which lay between the twin bases. Penniston got close enough to see the strange hieroglyphic symbols on the hull, and indeed to touch it. After some time, the craft rose slowly above the trees and then accelerated away at high speed. A subsequent analysis of the landing site showed indentations on the ground forming the shape of a triangle, scorch marks on the ground, on the side of the trees, and radiation levels, which scientific staff at the UK's Ministry of Defence assessed as being significantly higher than the average background. The UFO was briefly tracked by military radar. 2 nights later, the UFO returned and fired light beams at the deputy base commander and a small team of men who had gone to investigate. It later fired beams at a particularly sensitive area of the Woodbridge base. So though these events happened sometime before he joined the Ministry of Defence, being Nick Pope, it was a case that was raised with him on numerous occasions during his time working on the Ministry of Defence UFO project between 1991 and 1994. It was certainly the case which he'd received most inquiries from members of Parliament, the media, and the public. So as far as better able to respond to such questions, he not only had to read relevant papers on the case, but he launched a retrospective review of the incident, something akin to what the police would call a cold case review. And subsequent to this, he met with most of the key witnesses to the incident and had extensive discussions with them. So he basically sat down with anybody and everybody who had anything to do with it. The guy must have had so much access to things like this, and no wonder he's quite well known in the entire ufology field. So investigations by the UK were inconclusive. He does not know the results of the US investigations because the Ministry of Defence documents released under the UK's Freedom of Information Act show that some evidence was removed by the US authorities without their informing of the UK government. So the US still wanted to invest, no offence, Kurt, and bought a big bottle of Tipex. And just went and Tipex absolutely as much as possible, which, what could you take from that? That's just quite...
Oh, yeah.
That's just US for you, isn't it, basically? I don't mean to sound really crap, but anyway, so where are we? No, specifically, the MOD case file reveals that shortly after the incident, General Gabriel visited the twin bases of Brentwater and Woodbridge and was briefed on the incident and took various items related to the investigation back to his headquarters in Germany. Just Germany. At the time, General Gabriel was held the post of Commander-in-Chief of the United States Air Force in Europe. The MOD document confirmed though carefully worded, leaves little doubt that the UK authorities were less than pleased with the evidence being removed in this way, and the Ministry of Defence, not being informed at the time, and not, so far as he was aware, being briefed subsequently on the conclusion of what Gabriel's visit was. So he never got to find out for what reason or for what his outcome was. So the cold case review showed that General Gabriel's removal of evidence was for a number of factors that adversely affected the investigation, a combination of confusion over jurisdiction between the UK and the US, trying to work out who actually held, basically who stood their ground in that one, a delay, and a poor information sharing fatally undermined the original investigation. So the confusion over precisely what happened at the time is compounded by the fact that the Ministry of Defence UFO files covering the time period of the Rendlesham Forest incident had been destroyed, seemingly without proper authorization. So basically, it looks like America, forgive me for saying this, went on this little mad one where they went and destroyed small chunks and pieces of evidence. So
I agree with you 100%. I think basically British ground. Toby agrees with me too. That's all I got.
Toby agrees with the whale. Toby, stay out of it. Jesus, Doug. Oh, go on, sorry.
I think back to what you were saying. I think
okay, sorry.
Basically, give this one to the UK. I mean, they're being nice enough to kind of let us like set our planes down on their land. So basically, my thing is give it to the UK if they want. They can have. I mean, the way I look at it, they're more open with the UFO situation anyway. So
yeah.
I definitely give it to the UK. The US, we're so like freaked out over like things that we really shouldn't be totally freaked out with, But
yeah, there's one part, right? If you don't mind me just interjecting a little bit, right? There's one part I do have to say. I'll just read this small piece, and then I'll go from that. And I've got to. So, by the Ministry of Defence's own admission, there was no definitive explanation for the Rendlesham Forest incident, and the case remains unexplained to this very day. However, when pressed to make a statement on the incident, the Ministry of Defence has consistently said that the events were judged to have been to be of no defence significance. So it is worth also quoting the assessment of Lord Hill Norton on this point. Lord Hill Norton was a retired 5-star admiral who was also a former chief of defence staff and the former chairman of NATO's military committee. I am having proper tongue-tied there. It's weird. CDS is a UK post equivalent to the US post of chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Commenting on the Ministry of Defence's no defence significant line on the Rendlesham Forest incident, Lord Hill Norton said this: my position, both privately and publicly expressed over the last dozen years or more, is that there are only two possibilities. Either an intrusion into our airspace and the landing of an unidentified craft took place at Rendlesham as described, or B, the defence commander of an operational nuclear-armed US Air Force base in England and a large number of his enlisted men were either hallucinating or lying. Either of these simply must be of interest to the Ministry of Defence, which has been reportedly denied in precisely those terms. So basically, they were either high or lying, which is a problem because they're taking care of an Air Force base with nukes or nuclear Air Force base.
I think also the fact is, too, if you look at 1980 when this took place,
yes,
we were in the middle with the United States and Great Britain. We were in the midst of a Cold War with the Soviet Union at that time.
Yeah.
And I think I just honestly think the Soviets were playing around with something. And I don't want to come off as a conspiracy theorist whatsoever, because I'm not. But growing up in an area where I got missiles across the street from my house, and you saw them too, didn't you? You saw like the 3 where they kept their surface to air missiles. I just think it's the Russians, man, or back then the Soviets.
No, I do get you. No, I know mine and your stance is totally different on this. I know I will go as far as saying I have a belief that we're nowhere near alone. No, and
no,
anybody,
I agree.
I do believe people do look into. I do believe there's stuff looking down. There was have you ever heard of the Minuteman missile incident? I think
yes.
Where something flew over one of the Minuteman silos and completely disarmed it for a couple of minutes.
I did not hear about.
Right, okay, so what I'll do is, as opposed to me talking about it and rabbiting on the way I usually do, I'll place the video in a second, and I'll give credit to the person who the video's off.
Perhaps no UFO case is more worrying than one which appears to compromise national security, and there are few places more secure than a nuclear missile launch site, like the one near Malmstrom, Montana, at which Captain Robert Salas was stationed one morning in March 1967.
Early in the morning, and I get a call from the topside flight security controller or guard, and he said that a few of the guards had been seeing some strange lights flying around in very strange ways, making very rapid movements, stopping, making very sharp turns. So I just kind of discounted it and basically hung up on him. He calls back about 5 minutes later. This time he's very agitated. He's yelling into the phone, screaming. Sir, there's a large red glowing object that's hovering right outside the front gate.
Lieutenant Salas ordered the guards to secure the perimeter, and he went to inform his commander. At this point, the warning lights in the control center went off, and the missiles shut down, one after another. What made this event even stranger, if that's possible, was the fact that the exact same thing had happened 1 week earlier at Echo Flight, approximately 25 miles away. A lengthy investigation was conducted, but no positive cause for the shutdowns was ever found, despite extensive and concentrated effort.
Missile officers are highly trained, engineering and science types for the most part. And the air police, these people go through special security schools. They have secret clearances, that sort of thing. They carry weapons. They're highly trained people. So I think it's very significant when people of this caliber make sightings. The tragedy is that we don't know all the details of the reports. They've been kept secret.
I was there for another 2 years at Malmstrom. This incident was never brought up again in any of our briefings, and we were told not to talk to anybody about it. Over the years, it became more and more clear to me that what occurred was something that can't be explained as originating from Earth.
I'm quite impressed with the Malmstrom case, not only because of the people involved, and there were quite a few people involved. It wasn't just a flyover by a flying saucer, oh, what went by. But the impact on the equipment that was there, I mean, it's kind of scary when you think of missiles being affected by a foreign power, if you will. And remember, it's one of a number of cases around SAC bases. There was a whole wave of sightings.
Indeed. Over the past 60 years, there have been dozens of sightings in and around sensitive nuclear facilities. At least one person who was there is certain that there was a purpose.
I'm convinced that we were visited by some extraterrestrial object, and that there was not only visited, but there was a definite message. And the message was, get rid of your nuclear weapons.
Going back to what you were saying, and this interests me too. If I obviously know that there's something out there. I mean, that's a given.
Yeah.
But
do you want me to put this as part of the show, or do you want to leave it as it is?
Oh, it's up to you. Whatever you want to do, dude.
It's up to you.
I just think, oh man, I do agree with you, but like you said, why would they want to come here? We're like ants. We're worse than ants. If they have the ability to, just to go through multiple dimensions to get here in such rapid time, you're talking this close to the speed of light or above, I'm guessing.
Yeah. Okay. So based on what you just said there, if you look at Bob Lazar came out with a fantastic concept on how and why those ships that apparently are in S4, is it? In Area 51. The apparent ships that are in Area 51, they use 3 different types of reactors, and the 3 reactors keep them in the air. And what they do is, as opposed to flying the ship like a ship flies, they use gravity to do what they've got to do. So how they can do sharp and harsh maneuvers is because the thing has its own gravity. So if it's got its own gravity, the rules of inertia only really matter to the gravity that it's in. So if you're in that ship and the ship's going, as opposed to you being like a pinball and bouncing across the inside of it,
Okay.
you're abiding to the laws of gravity inside the ship, not around the ship.
Oh, it kind of shakes a little bit. Doesn't it have a little bit of a movement or something like that?
Yeah, but basically inside, you could be doing the speed of light, slam on, and you are apparently you inside, because it would have its own gravity, you wouldn't be affected by that, which I thought was really interesting. It's either he sat there and really thought it through, Bob Lazar, or it actually does make sense. And yeah, it's where I am. But
well, he's talking about what was that? 115.
Element 115, which
Element 115, and I don't know.
He apparently has an undisclosed amount of element 115.
Yeah, we got 500 pounds of it, but you know, I don't know. He's like one of those. He's a character. I look at him as kind of like a character in my own way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's almost, I've watched on the video you sent my way, plus a couple others. I don't know whether to believe that guy or don't. But then when I pulled that up and he was in that movie, then that's like an actor's way of doing things. But I don't still know how much of it's true, how much of it's not, because the government never gave him a pay stub. And plus 2 schools never had any record that he went there except the junior college, and MIT and Caltech, I think it was. Yeah. And so I don't know. It's like that's the whole. It's almost fun in a way, trying to figure out where's this guy coming from.
This is something me and you have both sat on different sides of the fence on all week. We've talked about it earlier in the week as well, which is regards to Bob Lazar, the guy. Now I understand your standpoint. The way I looked at it, though, and again, this is all due to the book I was talking about a little bit earlier with Annie Jacobson, the Area 51 book. If you ever get a chance to read it, halfway through when they start talking about Bob Lazar, he knew the time something was going to be in the air, where it was going to be. Lear, I forget his full name, but I'm pretty sure he's part of the Lear dynasty that owned the Lear Jet Company. He was there, and another person. There apparently is not proof, but there's actually a phone. His name's in the phone directory for MIT.
I remember seeing that.
Because the thing is, it's hard to tell whether that was somebody's printed off.
Yeah, it was Robert Lazar.
Yeah, it's hard to tell. Now, don't get me wrong. It makes for a perfect story. That something tried to erase him for all credibility. But the other thing which came forward when I researched Lazar years ago, and again, as of late, is he's the perfect false flag. He's the perfect disinformation. He comes out.
Yep, government disinformation right there. Yeah.
If he's screaming like mad about, oh my God, this has happened, oh, there's UFOs, oh, look at all the UFOs, and then the next minute they're releasing a new stealth bomber from the other side.
That's actually a great point, dude.
Look at Osama bin Laden, when they apparently took him out. They crashed a stealth helicopter.
A chopper kind of deal, yeah.
They crashed a stealth helicopter, but it was like, oh, we shot bin Laden, we crashed a stealth helicopter, but we shot bin Laden. And you don't know which one they were actually trying to say was more important.
It was like I forget what kind of helicopter it was, but yeah. But it's kind of like, I don't know, disinformation's interesting.
Yeah.
How the government's able to create that, and your average person would fall for it. Like, there's a big argument going down. This is kind of off and I apologize, this is kind of off the end of the UFOs, but about all these Facebook things during Trump when he was elected, people were buying into all these Facebook stories and stuff like that when they've got proof now that it was Russian,
Yeah.
Russian hackers creating all this. It was funny too. I mean,
Yeah.
it wasn't. Now it's not funny.
Yeah.
Like, it's not funny now, but that they did that. But it shows what a bunch of suckers we are.
Yeah, dude, we believe. Honestly, I agree with you. We would believe anything if it was put on paper. We believe the publications. We believe the newspapers. That's the frustrating thing. We believe social media. It's easy for anybody to look at something and go, "Oh, it's on the television, therefore it's true."
Yeah, and I like how people won't cross-reference anything. In order to do something right, you really need to go to 3 to 4 different sources. Especially with history or anything, UFOs or anybody who claims to have seen it. Well, why are you the only one that has seen it and not, let's say, your neighbor that was out back too didn't see it? But I don't mean anything bad by that. I just making people need to cross-reference anything that they read, especially on social media, because I'd say about 80% of it's BS anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
No, I agree. I agree. Now, my standpoint is, and I'll always say exactly the same, I am not here to make sure that people believe what I believe.
Yeah.
But in the same breath, I do believe something's out there. I'm not.
Yeah.
You'd be scientifically naive not to believe something's out there. Now, whether it's intelligent enough to come here, that's a different story. Whether it'll suck your face off like an alien from the film Aliens, or whether it's going to be something like Predator, it's hard to tell. But then again, the way I look at it, it's whatever's out there is out there. If it's looking back, then
I think whatever's out there, honestly, is so far beyond our capability of understanding it.
Yeah.
That it could be something like so crazy that's out there that we'd have no idea how to like deal with it. It's going back to what you were saying about
a lot of society can't work the left from the left and the right. They can't speak. Me, for instance, a lot of people can't even tie the shoelaces. Yet these things apparently can travel across solar systems. We don't stand a chance in hell. Swear to God, we can't even take care of our own business properly.
God, I can't even think. My apologies. Our planet, we're doomed.
Yeah,
it's not from anybody from outer space going to do it. We're good at it ourselves.
We're going to blitz ourselves. Definitely.
Yeah, and it's sad.
Well, I'm going to end the show now, but I'm going to end it on two things. First thing I want to say is, dude, everybody consider subscribing, consider liking. Do it. I mean, worst comes to worst, you like listening to us rant on about stupid stuff. If you do like it, cool. If you don't like it, I mean, don't get me wrong, throw a thumbs down. Tell us why. That's fair enough. Just don't go and go because you guys are stupid. Because to be fair, we already know that. And secondly, as well, we're full on professionals at that one. And finally, as well, just a fantastic quote is always be open-minded, but not too open where your brain falls out. I can't remember where that's from, but I absolutely love it.
That's
fantastic
good.
quote. Yeah.
Good
story of my life. I don't know where it came from, and I've always liked it. So I got to use it. I'm happy now.
And now, perfect time to use it, though. I mean, honestly.
Yeah.
Perfect time to use it.
Gotta love it. Anyway, guys, for our next show, I think if I'm right believing, we're going to be interviewing spookyisles.co.uk. This should be on Sunday. It should be live as well, if I'm right in believing. Fingers crossed. Should be fun. Nevertheless, guys, thanks very much for watching. We'll catch you again next week. Bye, guys. I want to wave. Okay,
Thumbs up.
You gonna thumbs up?
Yeah, I just gave a thumbs up.
Yeah, I'm gonna put my thumb into the camera and see what happens. So specifically, sorry.
We're going to have to edit that one.
Why?
My mom popped in. I'm using her computer. And she said she didn't know she was live. And she just took off.
Classified as anywhere big enough anymore. Or anywhere of a decent sized town anymore. So because
Somebody's sliding on the floor.